aerial shot of the asylum, crumbling walls covered in ivy, surrounded by thick, swirling mist. The sound of the wind howling through the empty corridors blends with the distant echo of something unnatural. There is something about abandoned places that calls to us. A silent whisper just beneath the surface of our thoughts, urging us to step inside, to listen, to understand. Some places, however, are meant to be forgotten. Some doors should never be opened. Tonight, I take you to one such place, a relic of a past too dark to be remembered, yet too haunted to be forgotten. Deep in the heart of a forgotten town, beyond a dense forest that swallows all light, stands the ruins of Ashvale Asylum. It is a place spoken of in hushed tones, a building whose very walls seem to pulsate with the echoes of those who suffered within. They say no one who enters walks out unchanged. This is the story of the night I decided to investigate Ashvale Asylum myself, and why I will never return. Night vision drone footage sweeps over the asylum. Broken windows stare out like hollow eyes, and twisted iron gates stand half open as if waiting. Ashvale Asylum was built in the late 1800s, a grand structure meant to be a sanctuary for those society deemed unfit. But over time its mission warped. What happened inside those walls became anything but humane. Patients were shackled, experimented on, and forgotten. Their cries were muffled by concrete and steel, their stories lost to time. By the mid-1900s, Ashvale was shut down. The patients vanished. Some say they never truly left. The rumors were irresistible. Ghostly apparitions wandering the halls. Unseen hands grabbing at intruders. Voices whispering in the dead of night. I needed to see for myself. I needed to know if the legends were true. I wasn't alone in this endeavor. My friend Daniel, a skeptic with a passion for debunking the paranormal, had agreed to join me. He had spent years disproving urban legends, exposing hoaxes, and unraveling ghost stories. Then there was Claire, our historian. She had spent months researching Ashvale's past, uncovering patient records, newspaper articles, and even old journal entries from the asylum's doctors and staff. Together, we believed we could uncover the truth. We arrived at dusk, parking just outside the rusted gates. The asylum loomed before us, its structure barely holding together after decades of neglect. Ivy had overgrown the brickwork, swallowing entire sections of the building. The windows were either shattered or boarded up, giving it the appearance of a skull with empty eye sockets. The entrance doors hung slightly ajar, as if waiting for us to step inside. Still think this place is just another urban myth? I asked Daniel, glancing at the uneasy expression on his face. He shrugged. Creepy? Sure. Haunted? We'll see. Claire was already flipping through her notebook, eyes scanning her notes. According to what I found, the last warden, Dr. Elias Whitmore, disappeared the same night the asylum was shut down. There were no records of him ever leaving the building, and there were at least 20 patients unaccounted for. Daniel scoffed. Lost paperwork. Bureaucratic incompetence. Claire shook her head. Or something else. We crossed the threshold, stepping into the darkness of the asylum's main hall. The air was thick, heavy with dust and something else, something old and rotting. The moment we entered, the temperature dropped. I could see my breath in front of me, though my thermal scanner showed no logical explanation. The lobby was vast, its grand architecture now reduced to a skeletal ruin. A massive chandelier hung from the ceiling, its crystals coated in decades of grime. Papers littered the floor, yellowed with age. A rusted wheelchair sat in the middle of the room, its wheels slightly turned as if it had just been used. A sound echoed through the halls. A faint whisper. We froze. Daniel clicked on his recorder. If there's anyone here, can you make that sound again? Silence. We exchanged uneasy glances before moving deeper inside. Ward C was our destination. It was the most infamous section of the asylum, the place where the most dangerous patients were kept. As we navigated through the decayed corridors, we found remnants of the past. An overturned gurney, rusted bed frames, and even a broken straitjacket lying in a corner. Every step we took sent echoes bouncing through the halls, making it impossible to tell if we were alone. When we reached Ward C, the door creaked open with little resistance. Inside, chairs were arranged in a semicircle, perfectly positioned as if an unseen audience was waiting for a show to begin. The walls were covered in deep scratches as if someone, or something, had been clawing at them for years. Then the whisper returned. This time it was clear. A single word. Daniel. We turned to him, but his face had gone pale. I don't like this, he muttered. The air changed again. The scent of metal, blood, filled my nostrils. The walls seemed to pulse, shifting in the dim light of our flashlights. A shadow slithered along the ceiling, moving unnaturally, spilling down like liquid darkness. And then the screaming began. It came from everywhere and nowhere, filling the halls with an unearthly wail. A cacophony of agony, terror, and rage. The chairs in the room scraped against the floor, moving on their own, forming a perfect circle around us. A journal lay on one of the chairs, its pages open. Claire picked it up, hands shaking as she read aloud. They watch. They whisper. They wait. We are nothing but insects to them, crawling in their domain. They let me see them last night. They will let me see them again tonight. And then, they will take me. The signature at the bottom was faded but legible. Dr. Elias Whitmore. The screaming stopped abruptly, leaving only the sound of our own ragged breathing. Then, from the end of the corridor, a figure emerged. It stood unnaturally still, its body flickering, shifting as though caught between two realities. It had no face, only a smooth, featureless void where eyes and a mouth should be. And yet, I knew it was looking at us. Slowly it raised a hand. Not to attack, but to beckon. It wanted us to come closer. Claire grabbed my arm. We have to go. Daniel, for once, said nothing. We ran, the hall stretching endlessly, the asylum twisting itself around us like a maze. Shadows reached for us from the walls, voices whispered in our ears, but we didn't stop. We couldn't. Then we saw it. The entrance. The same doorway we had entered through. We burst outside, collapsing onto the overgrown grass. The asylum loomed behind us, silent and still, as if nothing had happened. But something had. Something had followed us. I never returned. Daniel never spoke of that night again. Claire left town a few weeks later. Some places are abandoned for a reason. Some doors should stay closed. And some whispers should never be answered.